When it comes to the Outlander television series, there's one thing of which there is no doubt. We love Jamie and Claire. So I asked myself, why? Why do we adore them? I mean, apart from the obvious that both Sam and Katrina are attractive, accomplished actors. What is it about the love portrayed between Jamie and Claire on Outlander that has us so invested and coming back for more? So I went looking for an answer, or an outline of some sort that lays it all out and asks the right questions to help us find out what makes Jamie and Claire so fascinating. Or perhaps perfect? And when you know it, I came across a posting about the perfect couple, written by someone with an education to back up the points made on a counseling webpage, specifically a page on couples counseling. So question by question, let's see if our couple is the perfect couple, and finally answer the question, why do we love Jamie and Claire? Hi, and welcome back to Katie's Corner in Space after completing week 38 of Droughtlander and getting some bittersweet news. Yes, last week, just moments after I released the little bonus video, Starz released one of their own announcing Outlander would be getting that 8th season we've all wondered about. However, 8 would be the last season of Outlander. And while the universe will expand with Blood of My Blood, that only leaves us with one more season after the 7th to obsess over our favorite couple on screen. So let's do it right and find out, are they the perfect couple? I realize there could be several examples to give us a yes or no answer to each question. I think I'm going to go with my first answer on this, whatever comes to mind. To be sure, that's what happens. From this point until closing, I'm off script, though I have read through the questions to make sure they lined up with what I was looking for. So please let me know your thoughts and examples in the comments below, and whether you and I come up with the same conclusion. Number 1, perfect couples fight right. The perfect couple fight. Why? Because every couple fights. What makes the perfect relationship different here is that they fight the right way. They fight about the issue, not the other person. There's no name calling, no put downs, no contempt. They focus on solving the problem. Alright, so the first thing that comes to my mind is the first time Claire tries to go back home, and she and Jamie have a disagreement about how she should be educated on the correct way to act when your husband tells you to stay put. There was name calling, there was backlashes.
No pun intended.
Then there was also contriteness by Jamie later on. However, they did not fight right. Later on, I'm going to say that as I'm thinking about it, they get much better at how to argue, how to fight, and how to be respectful to each other at the same time. There was definitely a difference in the way they approached marriage in the beginning as to how they approach their relationship now. So yeah, I'm going to go with there was a learning curve there. Number 2. Perfect couples care more about making things right than being right. No one likes being wrong, and the perfect couple probably doesn't like it either. They're just also willing to own where they each screwed up. They're eager to acknowledge their flaws and repair the damage from their mistakes. All right, again, my first thought is that first fight and how when they discussed how they expect to be treated in their marriage, and Jamie realizes that if he wants to keep this woman, he's going to have to change how he acts. He makes a vow to her. And I think that at least on his end, that definitely shows he is more into making a good relationship than just being right. I'm having a little trouble coming up with a good example for Claire on this one. Yeah, but I'm gonna, I think, go back to that first fight. She had to understand his point of view. Things are a lot different 200 years prior to her modern day era, and so how she approaches a relationship, how they treat each other, there had to be some compromise. And rather than walking beside her man, she might often have to walk behind him just for appearance sake. I think that I'm going to have to again go with that first argument. Number 3, perfect couples know the difference between agreeing and understanding. Too many people think that if they genuinely understand their partner, they have to agree with them. Just because you tell your partner that makes a lot of sense, that doesn't mean you now have to tell them that they are right. Perfect couples get that it's crucial to understand your partner's emotions, thoughts, and hopes, and that none of that means you have to give up your own. Okay, I would have to say they are the perfect example of this, again, because they come from such different places and had to compromise on how they treat each other, react to each other. Jamie has to realize that supporting his wife's career is just as important as caring for her heart. And with everything going on in his position, especially now in the Americas, well, actually as laird as well. He is a laird, if not by name, then by stature in both countries. And she has to have great respect for his position as well. She's a healer, he's a leader, and they both have to work together and support each other in their own rights. Number 4, the perfect couples take care of themselves first. Yes, that sounds backwards, but it isn't. The perfect couple gets that life is tough for everyone, and they recognize that sometimes the other person can't be there. And they don't see that as a threat to the relationship. They get the idea that you can't pour from an empty cup, and realize that their partner can't offer what they need if they don't have it in themselves. So again, Claire pursuing her career, and she may be away from the homestead because of this. Jamie, in turn, especially when he was an Indian agent, or when a lot of different things come up throughout the story, but let's take the Indian agent, for example. He had to go stay away with the Indians, and Claire would be left alone at the homestead. So either way, there was give and take, and they each had to do who they were. If she felt strongly about assisting a patient, even though it wasn't a great idea, she had to do it. He had to support her. If Jamie had to make a decision because of being the leader, because he had to make these tough decisions, oftentimes she's there to support him. And again, they don't have to agree. Number 5, the perfect couple prioritize the relationship. No, this doesn't contradict the previous item. The perfect relationship gets prioritized above other interests. That doesn't mean that nothing else is important. It does mean that when the relationship needs attention, it gets it. Other items get set aside, and it's all hands on deck to care. And it's all hands on deck to I can't say this. Other items get set aside, and it's all hands on deck to boy, oh boy. I really can't say this. Other items get set aside, and it's all hands on deck to take care of each other. There are a lot of examples of this throughout the story, and it generally happens after they've had an argument, after they've had a fight. You see that they are either making love or they are contrite and trying to make it up with each other in their own way. Even under a siege, they take time to be with each other, to check in with each other, and have conversations. We get many of these little asides where they're trying to touch base with each other. So they do that really well, I think, throughout the story. Number 6, perfect couples remember that the other person chose them. Unchecked jealousy is a great way to kill a relationship. It's also easy to find ourselves feeling jealous. Perfect couples may have that pop up from time to time, but they also remind themselves and check each other that they aren't going anywhere. They trust the commitment and do the work to keep the relationship one that both of them will want to keep choosing. Okay, I have 2 examples right up front that pop into my head. One is going to be the relationship between Jamie and John Gray. And when Claire meets John Gray, her realization that the closeness that John feels for Jamie may be similar to her own. And I think she handled that moment well. She didn't ask too many questions, and she realized that it's part of life. And of course, it did take an illness for them to actually kind of get through that and for Claire to really accept it. But later on, we find he's become a good friend of the couple. And if you want to hear more on that, you definitely need to watch season 7. I say no more. Now, as far as Jamie obviously has a great jealousy of Frank. She knows he's jealous. He knows he's jealous. There's absolutely nothing to be done about it. What's confusing is he's also exceedingly grateful for Frank. If it weren't for Frank, Claire would have been going back to nothingness with her soon-to-be daughter. And Frank not only took care of Claire for Jamie, but took care of Bree for Jamie and helped to raise Bree. And Bree is a wonderful child, so no matter how we may feel about Frank, he must have been a decent father, because Bree has become a very decent woman and a good wife and good mother herself. So say what you want to say about Frank, but as much as we dislike him and as much as Jamie disliked him, he did a great service for Jamie. So getting over that jealousy, I think he had some inspiration to move forward, and that was gratitude. Number 7, perfect couples remember that relationships aren't perfect. Perfect couples know that the perfect relationship is an imperfect one. They are patient with each other, are quick to forgive, and anxious to do what they can do to improve the relationship. Like a well-loved home, they can always use some improvement. Perfect couples embrace the imperfection and know that the relationship, like every relationship, will always take work. And again, they are a very good example of this. Both Jamie and Claire have had to forgive each other for minor infractions, large infractions, misunderstandings. Now, the best example I can have of this is when Claire comes back. 20 years had passed, and they had to rebuild off of a broken foundation a new marriage, a new relationship. And it took time. And they both understood that. There were very many ups and downs and decisions and discoveries that were not all good. And they took the time to discuss, forgive, move on, and rebuild. So I think that in the end, they are not the perfect couple. They are just as flawed as they should be to keep us interested, and yet still devoted enough that we remain envious. They are a wonderful, interesting, and often confusing couple who love each other deeply and are willing to get past any difficulties and any confusion to keep the story going. And that, I think, is why we adore them so much, is that they aren't boring. And in the end, they always come back to each other. Hopefully that was a little different. It's one of the ideas I had while brainstorming. Admittedly, it started with why do we love Jamie, which may still happen, but this seemed like the fun thing to do after hearing last week's announcement, and I wanted to do something different for my birthday, which is this Friday. I hope year 48 is as productive as year 47 was, and I really appreciate all of you who've been coming back week after week, making my 47th year a year of learning, inspiration, and accomplishment. Big love to you, really. And stick around because March is this channel's birthday, and I maybe said at that point to do my first giveaway. So once again, thoughts on the merch would be appreciated and could benefit you later. You don't want to win a shirt you hate, right? So like, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you want to stand out, try thanks, which should be active on all videos and will help me see what you all really enjoy and could guide what comes next. And until then, remember to check out some of the other channel content here, and I will see you there.